Thank you for tuning into the last video in the video series by Canada Startups. If you followed along, you know we discussed quite a bit. We talked about your business plan, preparing financial statements, designing a pitch deck presentation, and much more. Now, as we talk about funding, we are getting you ready for that ultimate step. As a small business startup in Canada, getting funding early on to help cover your startup expenses could mean the difference between success and failure. In this video, we are going to look at the simple steps that you can follow to apply to all government funding options available locally, provincially, and federally. Ready? One of the questions that most people have about government funding is, am I really eligible? Most of the funding you usually hear about is big companies or big corporations getting $2 million to expand or $10 million to purchase a business. But really, government funding isn't just for the big corporations. Thousands of small businesses get funded every single year by the various funding programs available. This includes startup businesses. A startup business is pretty much anyone looking to get started, with no previous revenue or history of any money coming in. These funds can be used to help you actually start up and cover some of those needed startup expenses. If you have a revenue or history to show, even better. In addition to the startup businesses, if you have an existing business, you may be eligible for funding as well. Your needs might be different from the startups, but you can still use the funds for a variety of purposes, including expansion and growth. To be eligible for any government funding, you have to be a Canadian citizen or at the very least, hold PR status. Now let's get into some of the fun stuff. How much money can a program actually get you? Well, there is no clear answer just yet. Most funding programs are very strict in terms of what they offer, and in most cases, this can vary from program to program. Some programs offer as little as $5,000, while they can go up to $500,000 or more. Some programs offer larger amounts, but keep in mind that all funding is really based on your specific funding needs and what you actually require. At times, if your funding requirement is a bit larger, you may have to apply to multiple government programs to get all of the funding you need. In 2021, the typical small business funding approved amount was $49,700. Government funding can be used for dozens of funding purposes that a small business owner may have. From simply covering the initial startup costs, to business acquisition, purchase of equipment, marketing costs, to the production and manufacturing, hiring, and more. Funding is available for a variety of expenses. It is always a good idea to work with an expert to maximize your potential and to find all applicable funding options for your needs. Review the image in the video to see some of the funding needs that are approved by the various agencies. The first step of getting anywhere with this process is to first develop a business plan. A properly developed business plan will outline your business model, your potential, and will help government funding agencies determine how effective the funds they provide you will be. Keep in mind the goal with your business plan is to impress the funding agencies. As you create your plan, the questions you will answer will be about your funding requirements. As you go through the planning process, you will determine your shortfalls and will better understand what you will need funding for. Be it money that you need for marketing costs or to cover the purchase of tools, supplies, or inventory. These needs should be noted down before you move forward. Once you've determined what you need the funds for, knowing the approximate costs will help you figure out how much you would want to ask for. This becomes your funding ask. After you've sorted it all out, ask for help. Applying for funding is not easy. You definitely don't want to hear a no. So taking every step you can to secure the funding should be your primary focus. Ask for help and get professional assistance with this process. Before you go, try to avoid the mistakes that most small business owners make when looking for government funding. The Government of Canada has over 1,500 funding programs available to apply to. They are all publicly available, but extremely difficult to find. You can do it all on your own. But as a business owner, your time may be better spent working on your business and searching the web to try to find the one or two programs you may really want. Leave it to the experts to help with this. Don't apply for funding without a business plan. And don't assume you first have to know how much you can get before you can write the business plan. Your business plan is a blueprint to your business idea. It should be carefully crafted to seek funding, not the other way around. If you apply for funding without a business plan, you will be denied in most cases. Lastly, if you are unsure what you need funding for, the general rule is to not apply. You first should determine what you need the money for before you take the plunge and apply. If you are ready to get started, contact an expert at Canada Startups and get help with the process.